This is a video about soft and hard boundaries. But first, I'm going to talk about what boundaries are, right? You hear a lot of people say, oh, put up boundaries, you need to put up boundaries. Boundaries should not be enforced, right? It should be an effortless thing, right? If it's not an effortless thing, that means you don't feel like you have power in your life. You don't feel like you have sovereignty in your life. Go watch my previous video about how sovereignty creates effortless boundaries, right? If you're living a life that you are living, where you own, you have responsibility and you carry accountability and responsibility for your actions, behaviors, your thoughts, right? Where you're willing to live the life that you want to live, right? Through your interests and your hobbies, where you're willing to know who you are, where you're willing to learn about who you are, those boundaries are going to be implemented without any effort, right? If you're if you need to enforce boundaries, then that means that you feel like you have no power on your life. You feel like people outside of you have power in your life, right? And so you have to fight for those boundaries, right? But what is boundaries generally, right? Boundaries boundaries are an energetic thing. It's not only a physical thing. When we think of boundaries, you think, like, our human brain thinks it's just a physical thing. We think map maps on a lines on a map, or we think it's a wall, or we think it's a fence, right? We picture a fence, right? These are pictures that come to mind when we think of boundaries, right? But boundaries are, and first and foremost, an energetic thing, right? Boundaries could be felt before you could even see them, or you can even know them, right? For example, for example, you can meet a stranger that you think is intimidating at first, and then when you get to know them, you think you all of a sudden think they're so friendly and they're so happy with life, right? And it feels like it feels like you went through some contradiction getting to know them. That intimidation is an energy. That intimidation is the boundary, right? They're not doing it purposely or consciously trying to be intimidating, right? Real intimidation is not about thoughtfully being intimidating. It's unconscious, right? Like I said, at first you think this person is intimidating, and then when you get to know them, you're like, "Well, this person is so friendly. This person is so happy with life. I feel so warm in their presence." Right? The intimidation factor is the boundary. The boundary wasn't there to scare you. The boundary was there to let you know. That energy is to let you know that this person is not here to tolerate certain things for you to be in their energy, right? Because they're living a certain type of life where they're not going to allow things, right? They're not going to allow themselves to live a certain experience. That's intimidation. Intimidation is a boundary. Intimidation is a boundary. You tell yourself, there's certain things I can't do around this person. There's certain things I'm not going to allow this person to experience around me. Boundaries it's an effortless thing. It's just an energy put out there, right? If you're living a life you want to live, right? If you're focused on living the life you want to live, people are going to feel that automatically. Some people are going to feel intimidated by that if they don't know anything about that energy. If they don't know anything about an energy, they're not going to understand it, so they're going to feel intimidated by it, right? So it's just an energy, it's just a feeling. Boundaries is just a feeling. You don't have to say anything. Before you even say anything, people already know. and saying that what is a hard boundary and what is a soft boundary. A hard boundary is something you do automatic. Again, these are things that are unconscious. If you're living a life of sovereignty, if you're willing to live the life you want to live, you're automatically going to put up hard boundaries. What is a hard boundary? Again, this is an energy, right? It's not about walls, it's not about fences, it's not about lines on a map. It's just an energy you put out there to let people know I am focused on living the life I want to live. I'm focused on manifesting the life I want to experience. I'm focused on being responsible and accountable for my actions, for my emotions, my thoughts, my behaviors, my habits. I'm willing to know who I am. I'm willing to learn more about who I am. When you live that way, you're not going to allow people to disrupt that. You're not going to allow people to disrupt your sovereign living. You're not going to allow people to disrupt your sovereignty. You're not going to allow people to disrupt your peace. You're not going to allow people to get in the way of you knowing, being in touch with your soul. And so your energy is going to put out a hard boundary for those people, for those experiences. The soft boundary is where you allow experiences, people to interact with your energy because you know that these experiences, these people already know not to disrupt your peace, disrupt your sovereignty, disrupt your life, disrupt your connection with your soul, disrupt your accountability, responsibility to your emotions and thoughts and your behaviors or habits. So you're gonna allow these people to interact with your energy. That's soft. That's a soft boundary. And so I'm making this videos for you to be aware of that. That there's no there's no effort that needs to take place when putting up a boundary. When you hear people that say put up a boundary, it's not about putting the work to put up a boundary or saying I'm not going to allow these people to get in. No, you being in the energy of sovereignty, you being in the energy where you're just living your own life, is automatically going to put up the boundaries for you without any effort or work. You shouldn't put any effort or work into your life and anything that drains your energy, right? That drains your energy. The boundary should not take any effort or work, should not be a conscious thing. It should not be a conscious thing. You living your own life is going to draw in, or it's already going to draw in the things that you need. And of course, the things that you don't need is going to come too. But you're automatic when you're so tuned in into your sovereign life, these things are not going to affect you. They're not going to disrupt you. Right? This is it's not going to happen. Thank you for watching this video.